guys, my name's Tisa and welcome to No Now News. Okay, so for my headlines this week. France trains Ivory Coast troops for deployment in Mali. Shanghai closes poultry markets as bird flu death rises. New Prime Minister vows to defend Lebanon from Syrian war. US delays missile tests over tensions with North Korea. Iran nuclear talks end without progress. Okay, so we start with France. Okay, so basically, French peacekeeping forces in the Ivory Coast are currently training Ivory Coast troops for battle in Mali. That means that they're going to shift them from Ivory Coast to Mali to help with the battle going on there. And this battle is rising, well, basically it started last year when there was a coup, meaning some rebels tried to overthrow the government. Well, they successfully managed to overthrow the government, and it was bloody and violent and just this crazy mess. And what ended up happening was that there was a power vacuum created. That is, there was no one really looking after the country. There were so many armed militias running around. It was a crazy state. And so what happened is this kind of set the state for Tuareg rebels, and these are Islamist rebels, Islamist militants with associations to Al-Qaeda. Well, this power vacuum enabled them to kind of take over the north of the country, and they started imposing the Sharia law. I mean, things weren't really great there. And so Mali has been fortunate in the sense that France, its former colonial master, has stepped in with its troops and is helping them to battle the rebels. And you know, they are getting quite a bit of support from the international community. And so I think now it's really great that they're teaching Africans, or fellow Africans, to have the skills to be able to step in and help Mali out. And I mean, France is looking to withdraw its troops, which I mean only makes sense on their part. So who knows, probably by the end of a couple of months we'll see France returning, and perhaps Africans stepping in, and you know, the UN with some peacekeeping forces. So we just hope that they'll be able to take their country back for themselves. Okay, so on to the next one. Shanghai closes poultry markets as bird flu deaths rise. Okay, so basically what happened is towards the start of the week, strains of bird flu were found within poultry in China, and this particular strain is called H7N9. And it's been found in human beings for the first time, and so far 6 people have died. And China, honestly, I believe it's had a tremendous response to this. It's officially banned trading of poultry. Unfortunately, it's had to kill 25,000 birds, chickens, ducks, which a lot of the people in Shanghai rely on. But it's okay because the people that are selling this are going to be compensated for by the government. So far we don't know what kind of compensation they'll receive or how much, but they have promised that they will compensate the people whose poultry they had to kill. I mean, the only downside of this is the fact that because poultry is off the market, the price of fruits and vegetables and fish has risen, so it's going to be a bit of a tight squeeze for the people living in Shanghai now. But all we can say is our best wishes go to those who have lost their people, who have lost their loved ones rather, to the strain of bird flu, and we hope that they'll keep up the good work. Well, the Chinese government will keep up the good work and manage to eliminate it before it spreads, because you know these things do spread, unfortunately so. Okay, so on to the next one. Wow, so Syria has a new prime minister now, and his name is Tamam Salam, and I honestly feel very optimistic about this. He's very popular in Syria, he's well loved, and on top of that, he is quite, I wouldn't say neutral, but he is a consensus figure. He's neither here nor there. Some say that he's a bit close to the USA and Israel, but you know, that's speculation. If anyone sees you cooperating with people that you don't necessarily consider to be on your side, they can be pretty quick to say you're fraternizing with the enemy, which really isn't the case. Well, I mean, he has said that his main aim right now is to protect Lebanon from the strife going on in Syria. And what this is that, you know, currently in Syria there's this horribly sad and tragic war in which the Syrian army and rebels are fighting each other. The rebels representing the majority of Sunni Muslims, and the army protecting the Alawite well, I'm not good with pronunciations, dynasty. And the trouble with Lebanon is they're actually divided as well. It's pretty much split between Sunni and Shia majority. And so one half of the country tends to support the government in Syria and the other half tends to support the rebels. And you know, fighting has spilled over, but we're hoping this new Prime Minister, Salam, he'll be able to, I think, first of all, eliminate sectarian strife. I hope that he'll be able to get the people to unite once more. Just get them to remember that they're all one, and maybe put in some boundaries and some measures to kind of prevent the violence and the strife, and let's face it, the hatred in Syria right now spilling over into Lebanon. I mean, he was put in with an overwhelming majority, about 121 out of 124, or 124 out of 127. I can't be sure. So there is the fact that his new cabinet, it will be supported, and I think support is really key to any prominent political figure succeeding. So we keep our fingers crossed and hope that he will be able to protect his people. Okay, on to the next one. U.S. delays a missile test over tensions with North Korea. Well, as you know, North Korea officially declared war on South Korea last week, probably about Tuesday. And with each day that passed, it's been more and more talk of war and war rhetoric. Although South Korea has said it hasn't seen much activity on the North Korean side to say that they are actually preparing for war. But we did have quite a scary incident in that North Korea, it did move a second missile to the coast. I mean, that doesn't mean that they're definitely gonna fire it. And a lot of people are hoping that it's just going to end with it being launched over Japan and into the sea in some kind of show which will allow them to save face without actually hurting anybody. But we'll see how it goes. Oh, anyway, so America has it had planned to just do a routine test on its missiles, but that's not going to happen now because they say that they don't want to give any reason for North Korea to think they're trying to provoke them. I mean, I think it's a smart move. Some consider it to be perhaps bowing down to North Korea, but I don't think so. I think it's a smart move. I think it's a very prudent move. I mean, why do something that will just make tensions soar and things explode for no reason? It's not necessary. So America, I applaud you for not taking the step to do your missile test. I mean, they say they're gonna do one next month, which was already scheduled. By the way, these missile tests were planned way in advance. They've been on the calendar for a while now. They're gonna do one next month, and hopefully by next month things will have died down. I personally think that will be the case, and I really hope that will be the case. Okay, so on to the next one. Okay, the Iran nuclear talks have ended without progress. Well, Iran met with 6 countries, including China, Russia, and France, sorry, to talk about their nuclear activity. Well, basically, they have been in the process of developing some nuclear material, but they've insisted that it's just to promote living and lifestyle. They've insisted that it's not due to them trying to create nuclear weapons, which nobody believes. And at the risk of sounding biased, I think everyone has a right not to believe that. But the basis of the meeting was these countries telling Iran, we'll drop some sanctions against you if you stop enriching your uranium. That means that it wants them to not get to the level where they'll have the quality of uranium needed for them to produce a nuclear bomb. And to this, Iran kind of said, no, that's not going to happen. We're not going to stop enriching our uranium. And that's really unfortunate because I think that people could do it with the sanctions being lifted off of them because they're the ones who suffer the most. Which also brings me to this question, like, I honestly wonder in this day and age, is there any point with sanctions? I mean, have sanctions actually improved the situations in like Zimbabwe or North Korea or previously Myanmar? I just feel like you put them against a country and the leaders, they don't really care. They're not going to stop just because they're being told this and that by international community because they don't feel the effect. They'll never have to deal with the inflation that comes, the poverty that comes with your country not being able to trade. So it's like the little people that suffer while the big people are like, yeah, whatever, we'll just keep going on. So I'm actually beginning to wonder if sanctions are just becoming redundant and just a method of punishing people that really have nothing to do with it. It's just a question. I personally think that this method of regulating countries, regulating relations between countries is outdated and it's not helping anyone at all. But that's just me. Well, nonetheless, I mean, Israel is not really happy with this. It feels that diplomacy in regards to Iran's nuclear program is futile. It's not really supportive of it, and they believe that Iran is using all these talks to buy time so that they can actually make the bomb. And the scary part is that they as in Israel, have said that if all this diplomacy nonsense continues, then they're going to bomb the Iran nuclear manufacturing sites just to get it out the way, to make sure that nothing can come of it, which I think is really unfortunate. It really doesn't have to come to bombing and stuff, but then again, you could kind of see where they're coming from.